Hi guys, how are you? How have you been? Have you been well? Have you been coping well? Have you been in good spirits? If not, I hope that after this conversation that your spirits will be a little bit lighter. Welcome once again to Hearty Conversations. Your
Welcome.
hosts, Auma Rita.
I am Miranda Gabriel Paul, and we are so excited to see you again.
Yes. So today we're going to have part two of the conversation, healing and the stages that you go through with on your journey to healing, basically. I hope this will help you understand, and also for those on the healing journey, I hope we give you some company, and I hope you remind yourself to have grace after this episode because we are spilling secrets, tips, nuggets, everything. Yeah, so.
I thought we were spilling the tea, but we are spilling everything but the tea.
Yeah. Yeah, so so you know how healing has different phases. So I'm just going to go to the first two. That phase where you're seeking awareness, that phase where you're looking for answers. And my question to you, Paul, uh, did you ever get to this stage of seeking for answers, or for you just went, got your diagnosis, and you're like, hey, Kawaii, this is it, let me start my treatment?
No, I've been at that stage. After the diagnosis, I feel like you're seeking for answers of what got me here. What, and not necessarily like who hurt me or what did someone do, but just like what but like what thought processes allowed me to come to this place, and what in my environment, in the people around me, what I believed, those things, those are the questions that I was asking myself.
So how did that help you? Was it helpful at all?
I think it's helpful because in your journey to healing, there are certain things you might need to unlearn, and you can't unlearn it until you know where it came from. Because when you know where it came from, that's when you can start to question that thing that was said that led you to doing this. So because you know where it came from, then you can question it and you can say, no, while XYZ happened, it doesn't mean ABC. So because it doesn't mean ABC, I don't have to do whatever it is I'm doing. I don't have to be stuck in this. Yes. Have I answered your question? Okay.
Yeah, I think for me it was both helpful, and it also was unhelpful. It went both ways. It was a double-edged sword. So it was helpful in that I'm such a knowledge junkie. So I googled, I watched TED Talks, I read articles, and I was doing all these outside the knowledge of my therapist. So it wasn't guided. I didn't have like a guided space for somebody to tell me, despite what you're doing, it might trigger you. So when I got all these questions going on in my head, I reached a point of, you know what, I can't do this anymore. So I was like, nah, let me unlive myself. So that's how I got taken in as an inpatient. So yes, it was helpful, but it was also very triggering for me.
So, what support? Okay. Who did you have people who provided support, and what support did they provide while you were dealing with all of this?
So yes, I had a very, very supportive family. I'm so thankful for that every day, because I have people reach out to me saying, I'm going through this, I'm fighting with this, but my family isn't supportive. I think they're demons. I think we got to learn together. Yeah, what to do, what not to do, what was happening, how what was happening was affecting me, why it was happening. So we got to learn together, and secondly, they physically showed up for me. Um, every day, my big brother came to visit me when I was an inpatient every single day, and every other day my parents came, and my friends came every day. I was the most visited person within in Butabika in those 2 months. Like they'll just say, "Hey, you're going to F5. You're going to room F5," because I had so many friends and family come through for me and visit me and show their physical support. It wasn't just I'm praying for you, and yeah, it was really true.
I think for me, my support has been in my parents, because I remember when I first told my mom, like it wasn't similar to what you said. It wasn't like a struggle for them to say, okay, Pearl has this, she needs this kind of help. Like even my parents are very Christian, but there was never a moment when they told me you should pray. Okay, there was one, but it was one. I mean, it could have been 50. But I think the moment I told them that I wasn't feeling right, they immediately said, okay, let's get a psychiatrist, let's get her into therapy. So yeah, that was the support. Then also, I think from my friends, they ask about me, like just being like, oh, how are you doing? How is this going? How is, yeah, that I think for me it means a lot, because sometimes you can feel so alone and so isolated, but when you have people reaching out, it can feel so, oh, okay, so I'm not as alone as I thought, I'm not as isolated as I thought, and I can live through this, I can survive through this. Yes, we're all going to our phones. We're children of this generation.
My next question is, what role did self-compassion and acceptance play in your rebuilding process?
Oh, self-compassion is a big one, because when you're learning these things, for me, when like sort of like realizing, I remember there was a time my therapist gave me an assignment, and I was so stressed as I was doing it, and I was so stressed because it was sort of like the person who I was seeing through this assignment was, I saw them as like a weak person. I was like, you mean this is me? You mean me? Me, the whole me? I'm the one presenting this way. And I was so disappointed in myself, and I was like, oh, like as if icked. And that's when self-compassion comes in, when you're able to sort of, like, you know how if someone did something wrong, you'll be able to forgive them, and you'll be able to like understand where they're coming from, but now you have to do it for yourself. Yes. And it's not been easy. I won't say that every day I'm saying, oh, Paul, I love you, sweetheart, my baby. No. But I think it's something that everyone should learn how to do, because there are always going to be moments when you disappoint yourself, and it's important in those moments to be able to pick yourself up and to be able to, because we can be our harshest critics. And the thing with when we are criticizing ourselves, we are more inclined, I don't know why, like the moment, like we're like, for example, if someone said you're ugly, you'd be more inclined to say, no, I'm not ugly. But if you yourself say you're ugly,
You'd believe it.
you're like, yeah, I'm the wisest person on earth, of course I must be ugly because I said it. I don't know, there's just something about that. You said self-compassion and acceptance. Acceptance, I think for me, that thing, acceptance, okay, acceptance in what sense? Acceptance in the diagnosis, or
Of yourself, of the diagnosis.
acceptance. Have I accepted? I think I've accepted. How is that? Let me understand the question. How did that play? I think acceptance is important. Sort of like, you know, like the steps. Is it the steps of healing? Where is like denial, etc., etc., etc. You need to arrive at acceptance, because acceptance is when you're ready to like start rebuilding. Is what I would try to say. I mean, I don't think there was like I think for me, when I was diagnosed, I was like relieved. I was like, oh, thank God, Like, I'm not just crazy. Like, I'm not just the weird one. Like, there is like something that's actually wrong. So there was an element of relief. So I don't know if there was. I mean, I feel like I just accepted. Okay, I don't know. Maybe I'm not understanding the question. You answer and then we see.
Self-compassion. Self-compassion has been one of those things that I have to keep learning. Like a few episodes back, we talked about self-stigma, and I feel like I stigmatize myself a lot as compared to society and church and work. Like I reached that point where I sat down myself and I was like, Rita, you're guilty of self-stigmatizing yourself. And I've been slowly working on giving myself grace. I can show up 3 out of 7 days of the week being my productive version of me, and I needed to give myself grace for those days I can't show up. um, I've also had to learn self-compassion when I get relapses. If you fight with mental illness or any form of chronic illness, sometimes you'll get relapses. Most times you will get relapses. When my therapist told me to first draw a relapse prevention plan, I was like, you mean I'm not strong? What do you mean I will relapse? I can't go back to this point in my life. And then the relapses came, and then I beat myself up for them. But now I'm in a space where I understand relapse as a part of the healing process. And it's okay because your body is just used to this system and it's totally learning a new system to go by. And acceptance was a really big thing to me. Somebody texted me last week and was like, you shouldn't identify yourself with your mental illness. And in my head I was like, if somebody said, hi, I'm Marita, I have diabetes, would you tell them the same thing? Don't identify, don't say you have diabetes. I find uh, such conversations condescending because you have decided to cling to this thing even though somebody is telling you that's not the right way. So when someone says I have depression, that doesn't mean they've said depression is the only thing that's happening in their life or what. But I also need you as viewers to acknowledge that it has taken them certain strength. It has taken them a while to get to that point in their journey to say, okay, yes, they have said they have bipolar. I have bipolar. They have said they have PTSD. I have PTSD. And it's totally okay for me to say that without shame being cast on me, being told that that's not the Christian thing to do, that's the less faithful thing, that's a very faithless thing to do, proclaim healing. Yes, but in order for me to proclaim healing, I have to accept that there is something wrong in the first place. So before you cast a stone or giving your opinion about someone's acceptance journey, I feel like you should sit down with yourself, educate yourself, and also offer the person compassion, because it's taken them a while to
reach there. Okay, I get you.
To get to that place.
I get you. And then, okay, so has there been anything that has affected you getting to this place of acceptance?
Yes, of course I have had very many relapses. Yeah, because I was in denial, and because you're in denial, I de-associated for a while. So I had to undo all those things that I had done to protect myself. It's like a building up a wall, and then they finally tell you, oh no, you're building the wall in the wrong place, you're building it the wrong way. So you have to lay down brick by brick and look for the right place to place that wall, and then you start rebuilding from scratch. So yes, it has affected me that way.
Sort of like you have to keep unlearning
you have
things
to
and
keep. Yes, it's not that you. It's like how people expect when they go for the first therapy session, they're going to leave feeling better. They're going to leave within 3 therapy sessions, they'll be fine. No, it has taken you 8 years of building these walls, of building these systems, of building these coping mechanisms. So most probably on your third therapy session, that's when you start to establish, oh, the wall I built has actually made me a prisoner because I was de-associating. Now I have to break it down. Yeah, so that's how it has affected me.
Mm. I think for me, how it affected me was how society affected me. I think it led me sort of like made me feel defective because, like you said, how people say, um, don't claim that, speak into your life type thing. So it made me feel like, oh, so I'm the like the crooked ones,
Yeah.
who they didn't like build properly. Yes, that's how it made me feel. It made me feel defective and not good enough and stuff like that. And those are thought processes that I've had to learn how to challenge, which I'm learning in therapy, and challenging them and saying that no, I'm not. There's not something wrong with me. Also, it led me to want to present this person of strength, and people can't see, like, how can they see me struggle type thing. So I mean, all of that, I mean, I'm not going to say I've entirely conquered that, because I've not. Those are all things that I'm still trying to unlearn every day. I'm trying to understand that just because I have this disease, it doesn't mean that there is it doesn't mean that I won't be able to function in society, or I won't be able to live a good life. Yes.
I think that also helps us and answer the next question of how did you address the emotional and psychological wounds left by this experience. For me, it goes back to who do I let speak into my life. That's how I have started. Like, I won't get tired of this bee and fly analogy. If you didn't get it, please watch the next episode or the next one after this. Yeah, but it has taught me, like, I'll put up a post about mental illness or wellness, educating people, and then someone will totally leave this comment, and I've learned to say thank you and move on, because I am not going to waste any more energy on somebody who has decided that they won't learn. And yeah, so I've also learned how to pick my battles, because I'm not going to be fighting with everybody, apart from those people who intentionally try me and trigger me. I'll say stop, I'll block, I'll set the boundaries when I need to set boundaries, and I'm learning to set boundaries because they're very important. Yeah, so I think being intentional about setting boundaries and who speaks into your life is one of the ways I've learned to address these wounds. But another thing is, I've the first time I interact with a person who has all this negative energy, I start from a place of forgiveness, because most of them don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what they're saying. Yeah, so my cousin told me, you're starting this mental health journey, your healing journey, and you're going to have to do a lot of forgiveness. Just like Jesus was like, forgive them because they don't know what they do. You're going to have that mentality, but you can only have that mentality for so long. That's why boundaries are there. I will forgive you, but I will love you from a distance. Yeah.
I think for me, how I addressed them was, forgiveness was a big one. Forgiveness was a big one, because I realized there were people who I was angry at, and the anger had started to like hold me.
Consume you.
Yes, it had started to consume me, and I needed to deal with that. And for me, dealing with that, I realized that I had a picture of how those relationships were supposed to go. and I needed to let go of that picture of what those relationships, like that picture of what I wanted those relationships to be, because holding on to that picture was just stressing me out and making me more agitated whenever the relationship didn't follow that path. Yes, whenever the relationship, and I realized I needed to let it go and understand that I have no power over this person's reaction. I have no power, and if I keep getting, like, I can't keep getting angry because they didn't do what I wanted.
Yeah.
Because I can't control them. I can't make them do what I want. So I needed, forgiveness was a big one, and then also understanding what I can and cannot control, because me holding on to those thought processes was one of the things that was like pulling me down, because I kept on getting disappointed and stuff like that.
I think I'll ask the last question. How do cultural or societal factors affect acceptance? I think I answered that for me.
Yes, I think you did. I did. How do culture and society factors affect acceptance? I think because, like we said, culture and society they're like your first perception of the world. Like that's like how you perceive the world. So they will inform, for example, if someone says, "Oh, people who are depressed are weak," that will inform your thoughts. So now when they tell you you're depressed, because you have a negative connotation towards it, as opposed to understanding that it's not just weakness but it's a disease, it will delay you, because you'll be like, no, me, I'm not depressed. Those ones might be depressed, but me, I'm not depressed. What do you mean depressed? Me? Don't you see me smiling? Did you see my Instagram post the other time? So I think they can affect negatively and they can affect positively. Positively also in the sense of, how you had that community surround you, and that your community sort of held on to you. That affected you positively. It helped show you that there was like life after this. Like this didn't have to be the end of your life. This didn't. But we're not saying, okay, what can we do now?
Yeah.
But there was like hope and light at the end of the tunnel. So as each and every one of us needs to understand that we are someone's culture and we are someone's society. So when you're, for example, if someone comes up and they've been diagnosed with a mental illness, or even if they are just having a hard time, how you react will inform some of how they perceive what they're going through. So it's important, especially with things with regard to mental illness. If you don't know the answer, please say you don't know the answer.
Or be silent.
Yes, or be silent. There is no need for you to come, like, to be Superman and solve everything and, carry all the... Does he carry buildings? I don't know what he carries. But, like, I don't know, be Superman. Like, there's no need, like, you don't have to solve everything.
Yeah.
And you don't have to have all the answers. And especially for things such as mental illness, which are serious and can, like someone can be in therapy over something you said casually that you don't even remember.
For years.
And for them, they're like, exactly, they're in therapy for years trying to deal with that. So if you don't know the answer, it's okay to you can just nod and give them a hug, Of course, first ask, don't just touch people. And yeah, so just be conscious of what you're saying and what you're doing, because it can affect someone else, and you want to be kind.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yes.
Yeah, so I think the community and society has a lot of learning to do.
Yes, definitely.
And it also has to let go of certain myths that they have held close to them about mental illness, like there are demons, you shouldn't take your medicine, just pray about it, soldier through. Let me tell you, people who are fighting with mental illness or any type of chronic illness are like the strongest people that I know of. If you could walk a mile in their shoes, scratch that. If you could walk 24 hours in their shoes, you would get a different type of respect for them. But also community also has, we also have to do some legal redress, like change the laws around these things. Like you find people who have mental illness, their properties being taken away easily by relatives because they claim that they're insane. Another thing that we have is the negative language around mental illness, or when someone loses their lives to mental illness, we say this person has committed suicide. No one says this person has committed cancer when they die, this person has committed diabetes. No, it doesn't have a negative connotation. In fact, we say they're heroes, they're faults, they showed up, they're so strong. We even hold a barrier service for them, but when it's mental illness, like you just hush it under. No barrier services are held because it's a sin. I feel like there's a lot to do on the social sector, legal sector, governance sector. There is a lot of work to be done. Let's incorporate these things in our children's studies. So when we learned about the 6 immunizable diseases, let the children learn about this at a young age, so that they're able to say, "Mommy, I've been sad for too long."
Yeah.
This sadness there makes sense. Because if we get these mental illnesses earlier for some of them, they don't have to be on the chronic side of it.
That's
I keep
true.
saying, if I had gotten help earlier, if I had known, I wouldn't be on the chronic side of it. I would have walked myself in and gotten help, because I'm that intentional about my health. I know myself. So yeah, there's a lot of change and redress that should be done. And yeah, I'll be here trying to advocate for people. We'll be here trying to educate you about these topics, and we'll be here rooting for you to be better people, and rooting for you to learn and be intentional about learning these things. Yeah, that's all for me.
It has been I think it's been a very zen conversation with a lot of gems. But yeah, I think one thing that we can't echo enough is, guys, take time to educate yourself so that you have at least a basic understanding of these things, and you're not like a deer in headlights when someone tells you something. Yes. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for listening, for watching, for liking, for subscribing, for commenting, for sharing.
Zen.
You guys have been so busy, and we appreciate it. Remember to leave any topics you'd like us to talk about in the comments. And this has been Mirembe Gabrielle Pal
And Auma Rita. See you next time.
See you.
Bye.
Yeah.